Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. To no one's surprise, we've got another One Piece review to do. Specifically, this is going to be part 1 of 2 of the Skypiea Arc. It's going to be a two-parter because this specific arc is I think like 80 chapters long or something, and if I tried to do a review of 80 chapters, it would be too long for me to upload it to YouTube, plus I would probably forget a lot of it. So with all that said, let's jump straight into it. Let's talk about One Piece, and specifically the Skypiea Arc. Now, firstly, I want to say that they lived! Hey, yeah, woo! In my last video, I ended it by saying that I really wanted to keep reading because I needed to know if they got up the big water spout and what specifically happened next, what would they see. And it turns out that what they come across after living is just so much information and just so much exposition. This has been like the most information just like pounded, exposition just like pounded at you. And I want to ask, is this one of the One Piece filler arcs? Because before I did start reading One Piece, I did hear a lot about filler arcs. Now, I'm not too familiar with a lot of animes, you know, just the cartoons I watched before school, you know, Naruto and One Piece up to the arc where we're first introduced to like Usopp and there's the Black Cat Pirates and all that, and even to a lesser extent Dragon Ball Z. So I do know like some terms. I know the term filler arc, for example. And I want to know, is this one of the filler arcs? Because as I'm reading it, I can't help but feel that this was more of a, or this one specifically has less of a bigger, longer impact on the entire story, right? Like so in so many of these reviews, I will say like, oh wow, you know, they showed the log pose. This will establish a lot of storytelling later on. And this one I found was full of a lot more science. This one had like heaps of science in it, which was really great to read because like when you read about the science, you're like, wow, these people have really thought out the things that they're presenting to us. But none of it feels like it's long lasting, or like there's certain things happening in it that are throwing out like plot threads to further arcs down the road, like a lot of the previous arcs have been showing in the previous sagas I've been reading. So I would love to know, is this one of the filler arcs? I should also probably mention that the point of filming this, or like at the point of filming this, I am up to chapter 252. I just finished chapter 252. And it seemed like the logical place to stop and do this review because one, we got so much information and this is generally the point where I'd start forgetting it all. But also enough happened in the story to make me want to give my predictions and want to talk about the things that I understand and the things that I don't quite understand. And I think it would be fun to like kind of make the predictions now. So one of the very first things that I wanted to talk about in this review is just how much information that you are just bombarded with from the beginning of this arc. Like from the moment that they are on that like original lower level Sky Sea and there's the gorilla guy that runs out and, you know, beats up the other people and then goes and beats up Luffy, Zorro, and Sanjay on the boat. And then they keep going and they go to the gates of heaven and then there's like the woman there, the angel, or the guardian of the gate of heaven, or whatever she is. And she's like, you can go up, but you have to pay, you know, $1 million each. And if you go up without paying, then you are breaking the law or whatever. Or you can still go up, but it doesn't matter. So they go up, they take a big crab up that thing, and then it takes them to another higher sea level. And then from there, we learn the differences between the clouds. So there's the two different kinds of clouds. There's the like the denser one that can hold people and hold buildings. And there is the version of clouds that are the ocean. And we also learn in this moment that Luffy cannot swim or cannot do anything within the ocean-style cloud. Which is actually really interesting, and like I wonder if that's just like a little kind of throwaway thing, like it doesn't matter, it's just kind of like, oh hey, you know, in this goofy sky world that we're in, you know, this ocean that is actually clouds, Luffy can't swim in, and then it has no greater impact on the story. Or I wonder if later on we find out that, you know, the devil fruit is actually this, and, you know, science motherfucker, and the devil fruit interacts with charged ions of water in electricity or something, and that's why, you know, the ocean causes devil fruit users to like be sapped of all their power, and like the sea stone as well. And maybe those clouds had that same kind of energy in it. So just a random rant, that would be really interesting to find out later on if, this does come up later. Like, are there going to be more Sky Islands? Is the devil fruit going to be explained, and what specifically it does to people's bodies that causes the ocean to sap them of their strength? We also run into the Sky Knight that turns out to actually be God, but he was once God but is no longer God. As I was reading this, I have come to the conclusion that God is just their word for king. It's their leader. Which is why this old guy was once God, but then these 4 younger priests or whatever, plus, their current god Enel was able to go in and overthrow him. Now, I don't actually know if Enel and the priests are working together right now, or if Enel snuck in and 1v1'd him and kicked the other god out. But as far as I can tell so far, Enel and the priests are working together. They were their own rogue faction. Which, suddenly, as I say it, is kind of making me think, are the gorillas, were they once regular Sky Island people that saw their original god get kicked out and then didn't want to live with it anymore, so they went and they set up their own guerrilla fighting force, which is also why it is a hidden force. Because we do see when that little girl goes to the guerrilla home base, or whatever you want to call it, it does say the hidden guerrilla home base. So maybe those guys are loyal to the original god, Enel. No, Enel's not the original god, the other fella, the Sky Knight one. And then when Luffy and all of them went in and started beating up the priests, they saw their opportunity to go in and take out Enel to reinstate their original god. Maybe? I don't know. That hasn't been explained to me yet, but if I was to make a prediction, that is what I would predict. That they were regular Sky Island people that didn't want to have their old king usurped, so they set up a guerrilla fighting force. Yeah, that makes sense, right? Hasn't been explained to me yet, haven't gotten that far yet, but I am excited to find out what happens, because up until this point, this story has been very it's been very jumpy, it's been very confusing, there's been so much information thrown at us, and I can't wait to find out how it all gets recontextualized, because that is one of the greatest things about One Piece, just how, great the recontextualization is of this story, and finding out, for example, we already got one, the Sky Knight was actually God. So I'm really excited to find out how all of this gets recontextualized in the story. Now, let's kind of take it more linearly. You know the word I'm trying to say. In the order that everything happens. Linearly. Alright, so as I've already said, they went up the water spout, they did that thing on the lower ocean, and then they went up the Heaven's Gate and they made it to Skypiea. They made it to the other island. Or they made it to Sky Island by traveling by shrimp. I did like the way that little shrimp looked picking up the boat and carrying it up the Sky River or the Sky Road, however you want to look at it. Now, I'm not going to lie, my original predictions for this was that the angel girl, whose name is actually written 2 different ways in this manga. It's either Coins or Conis. And I really only noticed that because I do have to take notes when I'm reading this. So I did notice that her name was both Coins and Conis or Connies. I'm going to call her Coins because that's just easier for me to say. So my original prediction when I was reading this, right? So there's 2 things that I want to mention. Firstly, I noticed that everyone keeps saying that this is a dream. This is like a dream. Zorro says it, Nami says it, and I believe Usopp says it too, and maybe Sanji. But I noticed that more than once it is brought up that it's wow, this is like a dream. This feels like a dream. This is like a dream. And I noticed that it kept being said. And I'm just not an official prediction, but if it turns out that they shot up the water spout and then they're all knocked out and it turns out that they're in, that guy's house with the wooden cardboard thing and they're all just having this psychosis dream together, I'm not going to be surprised. I called it, right? They all keep saying this is like a dream. So if there's some kind of dream mechanic going on here, I called it. But that wasn't my official prediction. My official prediction was that the angel coins, I believed that they were going to eat the crew. I thought that it was we present ourselves as angels and they took the crew back to the father's house, and they were going to feed them there and all that. I thought it was going to be like, what is it? I think it's the Skypiea Arc, where they all go and they like eat, and it's the first one that we see the princess in, but we don't know she's a princess. We think she's a bad guy, and they all like eat and then pass out, but Zorro doesn't fall for it, and he starts samuraiing everyone up. I thought it was going to be a lot like that. I thought that they were all going to go to the father's house, the old fella's house, and they were all going to eat until they passed out. And then we were going to find out that these angels were actually some kind of like demonic force, and they were going to be eating people. I thought that that would have just been like a good kind of, like we're giving off this vibe, but we're actually super evil over here like this. I thought it was going to be like that kind of just big inversion, subvert your expectation kind of thing. Now, while all this is happening, we also get a scene where, in my last video, I predicted that the Whitebeard pirates would go up to Skypiea with them, because you kind of saw like pieces of their ship, and I thought that they were going to go up the spout with them and kind of cause dramas up there for them. But it turns out that that's not the case, because we do see a panel of like their destroyed ship, and they're all kind of on the ocean, and they're like, oh wow, our ship's destroyed, and they all went up there. And I can't remember the exact quote, but they say something along the lines of like, don't worry, we'll see them again, because everybody that's planning on becoming stronger will have to like meet up and face each other eventually. And I really did like that quote, because like, we have so much information about the Whitebeard pirates being strong, we have information about the Blackbeard pirates being strong, and it kind of just gives us that like ominous, like, we will meet again and we will have history that we can like rebound on and create this like big important battle of strength between everyone that wants to become stronger. So I did like that little panel that they put in, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Whitebeard pirates ended up in Sky Island anyway, because they have been talking about other ways that people can get up to Sky Island. Besides the water spout, there's like a way that takes longer, but you'll lose half of your crew or something. Now, back to Sky Island. One thing that I really did want to point out, because if you've been watching my reviews, you'll know that I have been talking a lot about Usopp. I've been talking a lot about like, oh yeah, Usopp is betrayed, or Usopp is portrayed to be the coward of the group. He's like the, comically cowardly kind of guy. But what I have noticed, and especially here, is that Usopp has become less cowardly. He's being used less as the comically cowardly character. Try saying that 3 times fast, comically cowardly character, and is now becoming more brave. And in his replacement is now Chopper. Chopper is now becoming the comically cowardly character. And I thought that was really interesting, because it was shown pretty much straight away in this arc, when they pull up on the Sky Island shore, and Usopp just like jumps over the ship, and it's just like, yeehaw, let's go, and just like jumps straight over the ship and into the clouds. And when I read it, I was just like, what? That's not like Usopp. Usopp would be the last person to jump over the railing, the safety of the boat, and just like trust his life to this cloud. But then more than that, as the story's progressing, and they have to talk about like things they gotta do, and it's scary, and Usopp does say the words like Sky Island scary or something when the Sky Knight is fighting the Sky Fish or whatever, and saves them in that original bit. But when it comes to the fight against the priest, Usopp is there, and he has like a very, real role to play in it. He does try to fight the Bubble Man before he ends up running away to find the boat, which is still, something very intelligent that needed to be done. So to me, it was really interesting that they, I feel, have now started to deviate Usopp's character from the cowardly coward to being the braver coward or something. And I feel as if they were playing up Chopper to be a lot more cowardly in this one, especially when he was, say, left alone on that boat, and there was the guy with the flaming lance and the big bird that came to kill him. Chopper was really scared there. He was really scared when he found out he was alone on the boat. He was like, oh wow, all these people are going off into the woods. It's, they're likely to die in the woods. And then he's like, wait, but they're all together, and I'm alone on this boat, which means I'm a lot more likely to die on this boat. And it seems like a really natural progression and a really natural trade, because Chopper has been spending so much time with Usopp. That's something that I noticed in all the arcs since we've had Chopper, is that Usopp is constantly, bragging to Chopper, and he's with Chopper, and Chopper is like looking up to him, I guess you could say. So it feels like a natural thing that they were planning to have Usopp grow as a character. He's experienced a lot of the things that he's experienced, and now he's braver for those experiences, and so he's stepping up and growing as a character, and Chopper is stepping into his role as someone that is learning the world, learning people, learning things, learning violence, to say. And so it makes sense that he's taking over Usopp's original role in that regard. And I hope that made a lot of sense, and it wasn't just me rambling saying Coward and Usopp and Chopper over 100 times. I'm just saying that is something that I've noticed, and it's like the first instance that I've noticed of it happening. And I'm really excited because it does show that they are really planning these characters and really planning how they grow through the series. Next, I want to talk about Nami. Let's talk about Nami. I feel as if she, in the last 2 arcs, has been really growing as well. And I want to talk about Nami and I want to talk about Usopp because these 2 characters have been characters that have kind of, I don't want to say struggled to find their place in this story, but they've struggled to feel as useful as, Zorro, Sanjay, and Luffy, because these people are like 3 indestructible gods that just kill anybody. So I have really been enjoying the work that they've been putting into Nami in, the last 2 arcs. Specifically, in the last one where Nami kind of had that like emotional thing where she believed in Skypiea or believed in Sky Island or whatever, and everyone laughed her out, and she had that interaction with Luffy, and she was feeling really down on herself. And then right at the end, when they're going up that water spout, she's like, bloody get on those sails, you get on that rudder, I'm the world's best navigator, I will navigate us. If I've got wind and I've got water, I can bloody navigate us anywhere. And I felt that was really important for her, and a really great kind of like growth moment for her, and a great moment for us as the audience to really just like remember like, hey, Nami is a fantastic navigator. Like, she's an intelligent person, she's very good at maps, and she's a great navigator, and she's got a cool head on her shoulders. She's not just the chick that is like obsessed with money. And I think that comes across well in this one as well when, we see Luffy try to drive the Waver, the little jet ski boat that they have, and he instantly like crashes it or like flips or something and just starts plunging down into the water. And then, they're talking about it takes 10 years to be able to, read the surface of the water, to expect what you need to expect, to know the wind and to know the waves and to know this, that, and the other. It takes 10 years to be able to do it. And then Nami is able to just like get straight on it and just like go out for a cruise. And it's just like, hey guys, remember Nami is fantastic at what she does. But with all that being said, let's talk more about the science. Firstly, I want to bring up the balloon fish and I want to bring up the flatfish. I thought that they were both great. They were talking about expecting plants and stuff to have that same kind of thing. And they were talking about how like these fish had adapted themselves to the less buoyant environment of the cloud ocean, which is why they were balloony or why they were flat. I thought that was really clever. I thought that was really well thought out, and it's just one of those things where it's like, I appreciate their time to think about the science. And just like I was saying at the start, it's one of those other things where I'm like, I appreciate how much thought that they've put into this series, but I feel as if, or how much thought they've put into this arc, but I feel as if the things that they're coming up with now aren't things that will have a lot of significance later on. Although, in saying that, let's talk about the dials. I thought the dials were really clever, and I liked the line that Coins says at one point, where she says something along the lines of, we've tried to build our lives, we've tried to build our society around, harmonizing with nature, specifically harmonizing with the power of the dials. And it makes me think that when they leave, I reckon that the Straw Hat crew is going to take one of these breath dials with them, and I have a feeling that'll play some part later on. I can't imagine for the life of me the Straw Hat crew leaving without a breath dial. Right, we just had a whole conversation about how brilliant Nami is and how amazing she is as a navigator. There's no way that 1, Nami the thief wouldn't steal a breath dial, and 2, Nami the navigator wouldn't understand the importance of having like a stockade of wind or a stockpile of wind for your sails when you need it. Now, a little after this, Nami goes missing. She disappears on her little wave runner or whatever it's called, and she ends up at the forbidden place, the place where people can't go. And while she's out there, the Straw Hat crew realizes that she's gone missing. They're like, crap, we can't see Nami. And the angel people are just like, oh no, she's probably gone to the place where people can't go. And, they explain, God's there, the priests are there, it's forbidden, it's blah, blah, blah. And the Straw Hat crew is like, we don't care, she's our navigator, she's our friend, we're going to go and get her back. And there's just this one moment, and I really like it, it's really great. If I've got the panel, I'll probably put it up now, or I'll probably talk about it more towards the end of this video when I start throwing up panels and talking about specific panels. But there's this one moment where the angel people are just like, please don't anger our gods. Like, you can't go there, it's forbidden. Like, God literally lives there with his priests. Please don't anger our gods. We're gonna get in trouble. Who knows what's gonna happen? Just like, please don't do it. And obviously Luffy is like, yeah, we're gonna kick his ass. And it's just like classic Luffy. And it just, I don't know what it was, but there was just something so like wholesome and real about like inviting people into your house and then they just want to go and like smash up the place. And you're like, just please don't anger our gods. And that brings us on to Nami's point of view when we see her find the real land island and the trees and all that. I did not expect, like, obviously I'm up to chapter 252 or something. By the time you see this, I've probably already finished this arc, so feel free to talk about whatever you want to talk about in the comments. At the time of seeing this moment where, like, Nami finds the island, I would not ever have predicted that it was the other half of, which is the Jaya Island from the first arc. And now that I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you about this, I suddenly just had this thought. I should have put up or downloaded the map that showed like, Sky Island. And I'm sure if I go back and I look at the last arc, I bet you there will be a map of Jaya Island as well. And it'd be so interesting to see those two maps and see if they like link up. Because I know like Sky Island is kind of moon-shaped. So it'd be really interesting to find out if like Jaya Island was also moon-shaped and they like kind of hooked together, or like, maybe one was whatever. I don't know. If there is a map of the two, that would be really interesting to see. Anyway, the point I was trying to make was I did not expect for the life of me that Jaya Island was the original island that like technically sank, or like the other one was the one that sank. I didn't expect them to both have been Sky Islands and then like one of them dropped down to the Grand Line. That was really interesting. That was really clever. And it does show why, that guy's house was so small. It'd be really interesting. I said that I did want to reread the last arc. It'd be really interesting to go back and see that one and to see that there are no steps to the second floor. Because when Nami finds that other building in the forest, she says, hey, this is definitely the other half of the house that was down in Jaya Island, because I noticed that other house didn't have any stairs to the second floor. And I was just like, WTF. So it'd be really interesting to go back and look at all the pictures from that last house and to see if there was like maybe a ladder. Maybe there was like a ladder that would take them to the second floor or whatever, It'd be really interesting to see if they utilized the second floor at all, or if it really was just a random space that they couldn't access. Now, when this entire scene happened and Nami was there and she was watching everything happen, I actually wrote this note. I wrote, I'm so confused. People are chasing a guy through the forest and then the gorilla guy from the start fires a rocket at them. So at that point, there was so much just like exposition and world building just like happening. There was so much just like, hey, science and clouds and these people are angels and there's a god. But God might not actually be God. I think that God might be another word for king for these people. And there was just like so much information just being like thrown at you. I was just like, fuck, I'm struggling to take all this on. And then like this happens where like people are just like running through the woods and then there's a giant dog and like people are throwing stuff at him. And then like God does some massive like lightning attack, super ion cannon, blows up part of the island. I was so confused at that point. But anyway, fast forward a little bit, the white berets come down in order to arrest them. We find out that someone has betrayed them. And it is pretty clear that it is more than likely the angel people that have taken them in, because they're really only the people that we've been interacting this whole time. And everyone, or like our main crew, beats up the white berets. And the white berets are just like, you have to pay us $7 million in order to like stay up here. You pay us that fine, and then suddenly you are no longer criminals. And then slowly, things escalate, and they escalate until the point where it's like, okay, you are now level this criminal. The only thing you have to do is get tried by our God. And only he can like give you judgment or forgiveness or whatever. And then the big shrimp comes, picks up the boat, runs away with it, takes them to the altar. And we find out that those people on the altar aren't actually the people on trial. The people on trial are the ones that are trying to go and save them. So we get coins, take Luffy, Sanjay, and Usopp through the city in order to get to the boats, in order to go down the Milky River or whatever it's called, and save them by sending them through that trial. And while they're heading through the town, something really interesting happens. It seems kind of minor at the time, but I have a feeling it will have some kind of deeper payoff later on. They come across the idol, and it's, the Verth idol or the Viarth idol. I don't know how you want to say it, but the thing is, it's spelt the letter V and then Earth after it. And I feel like an idol representing the yearning of everybody that lives in Sky Island that has the name V Earth has to have some kind of deeper meaning to it. I would be thoroughly shocked if V Earth did not have some kind of deeper meaning to it. And, Coins says something along the lines of, this represents the yearning of everyone of Sky Island. And they say, what are you guys yearning for? And she says, you just wouldn't get it. People from the Blue Sea wouldn't understand. And it makes me think that maybe these people don't want to be living in the sky. Maybe these people want to be down on regular Earth. But I'm not sure. Official prediction, V-Earth, Verth, Varth, or however you want to say it. I have a feeling that name will have some kind of deeper meaning to it. One of the parts I did really enjoy about this story, and it was like a classic Luffy, every review I say the same thing, that Luffy is a cosmic force, he's a tool of the universe, or whatever, however I say it. One of these moments that I did really see this, and I did really enjoy, because I always enjoy these moments, is when Coins takes them to the crow boat, and she's there, and she says, like, I'm the one that betrayed you, I'm the one that called the crab, like, blah, blah, blah. The reason I betrayed you is because if I didn't turn in, like, it's my civic duty, if I didn't turn in criminals, then I would be killed. I would be judged by God and killed. And now that she's told them, she will also be judged by God and killed. And in that moment, everyone is just like, why the hell did you tell us that? Now you're going to be killed as well. And I did like that moment from Luffy, because it does seem like one of those classical Luffy moments where it's just like, you did what you had to do, and I'm not mad that you did what you had to do. I'm mad because you told me, and now your sacrifice, or now you doing what you had to do, is now pointless because you're going to die anyway. And I do always enjoy those moments from Luffy. And it's in this moment, if my memory serves me well, that God shoots these big laser beam down there, and God swoops in and saves it, or the Sky Knight swoops in and saves Coins. And from here, this is where we get all the information, like we find out that he's actually God, which was like a nice little shock to me. I was like, oh wow, that's actually really cool. And also this is the moment where the boys like take off on their boat, and they begin their trial with the big swinging swords, or the big swinging axe heads, and the lamprey jumping out of the ocean. And this is also the moment where they're like, all right, guys, like, we really got to focus up. This is it. The trial's beginning. Like, this can go really badly for us. From there, they move through those 4 tunnels into the trial of balls. Balls. And, I really like this part. I really like when, they're just going through and they're just like, wow, this trial's really easily. And then Luffy picks up one of the, like, snowballs or the cloud balls or whatever and throws it at Usopp, and then, like, a big snake pops out. I did really like that moment. And, we get our introduction to that priest, And one of the really interesting things that I found was that the priest wasn't a devil fruit user. He was actually like he was a priest, I guess you could say. He was very good at, I suppose, meditation or something, because the word mantra is used a lot. And once they defeat him, we get a look at someone else and he goes, oh, that priest was defeated because he broke his mantra. He stopped focusing or whatever. And that gave the people the opportunity to attack. And that's something really interesting. I do like this idea of, not only devil fruit, because I do enjoy finding out all the different kinds of devil fruits that people are eating, but I also enjoy the people that don't use devil fruit, but it still turn out to be like incredibly strong because of something that they've dedicated themselves to. Like a great example is Zorro. He's incredibly strong because he has dedicated himself to becoming the world's best samurai or the world's best swordsman. So he does train, and we see him train to get physically stronger. But also, he had that revelation in the Alabasta arc where he's like, the sword has to not cut what I don't want it to cut, but also cut through everything that I want it to cut. So like for Zorro, it's like body and soul and mind all coming together to make him a stronger person. And I do like that kind of just like raw, brutal energy that like the devil fruit brings, but also that like subtle spiritual energy that training for something also brings. And I hope that made sense, but like I enjoy both like sources of immense power, let's say. This is also the moment where Usopp unveils his grappling hook for the first time, and we get to see him swing through the trees or whatever. One of the things I do really like about this story is, the science, and I've probably said that 4 times in this review so far, but I do really enjoy that Usopp is an inventor. He's not just like the guy that shoots the slingshot and is like cowardly. He's also incredibly smart, so he's an inventor, and he's also fixing the ship. And I do enjoy that about his character, because I do enjoy just like gadgets and gizmos, and like things like when he created Nami's new weapon, and now he's got his slingshot, or when he was working on his like Tabasco star. Just those like little tinker vibes that you get from him. I do quite enjoy that. Then we fast forward a little bit, and Robin and Nami and Zorro have like swung on a vine to get off the ship, and they've left Chopper behind. And, they're kind of walking around, and Robin shows off a bit of her archaeologist skills, and, she comes across some buildings, and she's like, oh, wow, this is really cool. People didn't predict the growth of these trees, and so the trees have grown into these things. That's really cool, and I want to find more of them, and, this thing's 1,000 years old, and she just kind of shows off her skills. And this is also when they come across the other half of that house that I was talking about earlier. But in regards to Chopper, he's on the ship and he's, trying to fix it all up. But then he gets the other priest, come and try and give him judgment or kill him on the altar. And he explains about like the 4 trial zones and how the altar is just kind of like a free-for-all zone. Chopper blows the whistle and then tries his best to stop the guy from destroying his ship and from killing Chopper. Now, this is when the old god swoops in and saves the day, but in the process, he, gets pretty messed up. He drops down through the clouds with the Pegasus, and Chopper jumps in after him to try and save them. But Chopper is a devil fruit user, so in reality, he's really just like jumped to his death. But for some reason, they get saved by an unknown force. Now, this takes us back to Luffy and the other guys. Like I said, this one jumped around a little bit. This takes us back to Luffy and Sanjay and Usopp while they're fighting that bubble guy, and we get the big like cloud ball dragon. Now, I thought the dragon looked really cool. It reminded me of like a video game I used to play when I was younger. I can't remember. I think it was called Goman or something. I don't really remember it. All I remember was there was like this guy with pointy hair, and he would attack people with his hair, and you could like throw coins at people or something. I don't remember. It was like a 2D side-scroller on Nintendo 64 or something. But Luffy manages to like cut the cord that the guy is controlling the dragon with, and then like slam the dragon into the guy, and it causes a chain explosion and like all these knives to shoot out. And I did really like that because, like, out of the box thinking and, like, fight scenes are quite difficult to do. So in that moment when we found out that the guy could predict their moves with the mantra, it did make me wonder, like, how are they going to beat this guy that can see the moves before them? I thought, before I knew it was the mantra that did it, I thought it was his goggles, and I was like, they're going to have to, like, break his goggles or take off his goggles or something. But instead they like break his mantra by having Luffy cut the rope, and the guy's like, oh shit, I can't control the dragon anymore, give me back my dragon. But then Luffy just like rockets it into him. And then the bubble guy is like, oh wow, okay, well at least he's dead now, like he killed himself, what an idiot. But Luffy's like secretly on his back and then wraps him up, and Sanjay does like a big slicey kick into his head and knocks him out. This moves us on to, you know, the part where Usopp finds the boat, and he's like, guys, grab onto me, shoots his grapple hook onto the boat, and like grapples them up and smashes them between trees all the way up. And, you know, they end up on the boat that was being pushed away. I didn't mention it, the bubble guy pushed the boat down the stream. They then float down the island, or they then float down the stream all the way to, like this plains, and you expect that the plains are going to be where like another trial happens, or where someone's waiting for them, or some kind of like something. But then you see the gorillas have come, and they're like jumping through, and they've started fighting with the priests. And as the reader, that you're there like, would the priests have showed up to stop them in that area with all of the skulls, but were stopped because of they had to fight with the gorillas, or was it really just like some kind of symbolic thing? And this takes us to the moment where they are all united. And this takes us up to the part where I have just finished. So they all unite back at the boat with Chopper. Chopper explains everything that's going on. He goes and shows them the old god that is now healing up in the bed. They talk about their plan. They talk about what's going on. You know, Nami explains that this is the city from Legend, or maybe the other island was the island from Legend. I'm not quite sure how that worked, if Jaya was the island from Legend that sunk, because like, I mean, it fell, or if Jaya wasn't the island from Legend, and when they think that the other one sunk, they thought it rose or something. I'm not really sure how that works, but I'm going to say Sky Island is the one that has the gold palace because it has the one with the god. So you would presume that the one with the god would have all the gold. So they all are reunited, and they're there, and they're eating one of the sky sharks, which I thought was funny. They're all sitting there and they're eating, and, you know, Nami explains everything that's going on. And then they all agree, like, okay, let's go on this adventure. Let's find out this information that these people have been desperately looking for so long, and let's go and get all the gold. They don't even really seemed too fussed about fighting the priests or fighting the gods or anything. You know, it seems like their motivation at this point was to, like, go and find out this information, which does fit in well with Robin's character because, like, you know, she's an archaeologist. And it also fits in great with Nami's character because she loves gold, or money. And it seems like this should have been where the arc ended. It feels like this should have been like a Sky Island Part 1. Like, it feels like this was a natural point in the story to stop. So to me, it's odd that they did just kind of build this all as one giant arc, instead of like smaller arcs like they did in the other sagas. And I do think that the reason that they didn't stop it here is because this, up until the point that I've just finished, has all been massive amounts of information just like thrown at you, just like heaps of exposition, heaps of world building, heaps of information, just like poof, poof, boom, 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 here, information, motherfucker. And I feel like they made the conscious decision to be like, look, we can't just end the arc right here. We can't just like pummel these people with information and then just be like, okay, that's the end of the arc. Even though this chapter, like 252 or whatever I'm up to, does end in a very, it ends as if it's tied up very well, as if it is a natural stopping point, which is why I naturally stopped here. Just one more point I want to touch on, just from the like art perspective. Now, I'm not an artist. I can't draw for shit. I can't draw like stick figures that are connected to each other. I've always been a terrible artist. So I don't usually like to comment on the like art or art style of, well, anything. I do like art though. I do like looking at art, but I don't have that kind of like eye for art that a lot of other people do. But anyway, with that out of the way, I want to say that I did really enjoy the fact that the One Piece artists were able to convey that all of this was cloud and not snow. Right, like when you think about it for a second, like what is the difference between cloud and snow? Like if you were to see it on a page, how would you draw the difference between cloud and snow? Because they're both just like white, fluffy things. So how would you make that distinction? How would you change whatever texture or whatever it is to make it look like cloud and not snow? But I feel as if the One Piece artist did a fantastic job at this. At no point did I not think I was looking at clouds. At no point did I think that they were doing stuff with snow. Like even when there was the cloud ball, snowball things, I had no problem recognizing that they were cloud balls and not snowballs. And I thought that that was really impressive. Even when we're like looking at the ocean, you know, it could have very easily been lost in that translation to just look like a big plain of snow. But I very much believed that it was cloud. And I just thought that I would take this moment to say, like, well done to these artists to convey that so well that someone that is kind of really terrible at art, like myself, would still have no issues in recognizing at all points that it was clouds and not snow. Anyways, that'll be it for this part one of this review. By the time you see this, I probably will have already finished the entire arc. So feel free to talk about whatever you want in the comments. Please do leave me a comment because I do love to read them. Please like this video. Please subscribe to the channel. Leave me a comment. And until next week, until I see you again, thank you very much. And I'll see you around like a rissole. Peace.